We will be talking about sampling today. We will be talking about hypothesis testing and like last class, we had not started with time series. So we'll come to that. You people will be giving your exams online as well.
Come again, ma'am. Come again, please.
You will be giving your exams online.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm happy to observe that you will be taking us another course apart from this one.
I hope do not disappoint you people.
No, 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 no. I'm happy. I'm very happy to observe that.
Okay, great.
Congratulations, Tanima.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure hearing from your
Yeah.
students good words. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, I'm leaving because there another meeting planned, and you
Right.
can carry on.
Yeah, I think so. I'll start because it's already 2:06, so I'll start
Yeah,
off.
yeah, yeah. You can start.
So, right, you can see like we are starting with a questionnaire today. Any questions from the last session? Anything that you people have not understood from the last session? We can go ahead with that. If you want anything from the last session, otherwise, we'll start here. Okay. So if and when you people have your doubts, you can always come. You can always ask me that, and we can try to resolve your issues, your doubts. And just let me add my writing pad. So last time we were talking about sampling, and we said that how do you draw your sample, and we saw the various types of samples that we have. And basically, when you are talking about sampling, I said that we generally talk about multi-state sampling because it's a combination that we are doing. So we have clusters are sampling. We have got stratified sampling, especially like if you're going for a probability sampling, then you will be doing a combination of these things. In case of non-probability sampling, it might not be the case, but yes, in case of probability sampling, we may not we may like most of the times we do go for a multi-state sampling where we use a mixture of all the sampling techniques that we have learned, because that is how it becomes your sampling becomes a good tool. Now you have done your sampling, like you have designed your sampling framework, you've made the sampling design, you have selected the sample size, you have now decided that okay, from where you are going to take how much samples, and all those questions have been answered. Now once all those questions have been answered, now is the time for your action, basically where you are going out in the market and in the field, and you're collecting your data. So when you are like, if, whether it's Farida who is doing it for her hotels, Grace doing it for her customers in the mobile segment, or anybody doing it in their respective fields, you need a questionnaire or a schedule. Schedule is a much wider term, because it's basically the entire process, you can say, is that like, not the entire process is survey. And then you can use a schedule or a questionnaire. Basically, the difference between the two is, in one, you go out and you ask the questions and you fill it, like the person who's asking the questions fill it. And in the other, in case of schedule, you just send it to people, and they fill it on their own, without any aid from the interviewer or the person, the enumerator who is collecting the data. And yeah, so that is what basically it is. So in case of questionnaire, now what is a questionnaire? It's basically, of course, we know that it's just a collection, like it has got a number of questions where you are collecting information regarding the objectives that you have set out for your study. So whatever your study objective is, whether it is about you want to know about the customer preferences, whether you want to know about you want to get a feedback about the product that you have sold, you want to go for you want to develop a mechanism for customer grievance redressal, you want in the HR department, you want a more transparent evaluation process to be there. So you just want a feedback from people, you just want to know that what sort of management you have, so just you want to get a feedback. So yeah, it can be different as per the objectives of your study, and according to the objectives of your study, you then you have got a set of questions regarding the different parts, and you make that questionnaire. Now, the question is that how do you administer the questionnaire? So we always say that there are different ways of doing it. It can be we can say that you can have self administer, like that means you go down to the people and you do that. You like that's person, you send it them via mail. You have got telephonic interviews. In current scenario, if I'm talking about, two things are very very popular. One is going for like sending mails out to people, because now you've got this a thing called Google Forms, so which is very handy, which comes very very handy. And plus the thing is that it gives you a summary, like when you're downloading the information, it gives you a summary in an Excel table. So that becomes very easy for us to analyze. Like it's not necessary to personally sit and feed the data in your system. uh, in person is again very very popular, especially if you have got a very detailed questionnaire. And though like one of the basic requirements of a good questionnaire is that it should be self-explanatory. That means whatever questions you're asking, you have to give a detailed guideline to the people who are filling that, like the respondents that you have. You ask them to, when you're asking them to fill that, and you also you you the wordings should be very precise, it should be very concise, it should not have any ambiguity in it. So that is the reason that we are saying that you can send it by mail. But many a times what happens is that your questionnaire is detailed, it's in detail, and you want it from people who are not very tech savvy, like who do not have access to these Google Forms, or a lot of them might be illiterate, uneducated, they can't read what you have written, or you are writing it. Say supposingly, like in India, what happens is that I'll give you an example from India, and then you can always share examples from your own country. Now again, one of the basic rules of questionnaire, of a good questionnaire, is that it should be in the regional language, in a language which is easy to understand for the people. But what happens is that in India, like we have got a colonial hangover, and most of our things are in English that we are doing, and we give a lot of preference to this language. So a lot of time these questionnaires are in English, and when you are going to the various regions, they have got their regional languages. Now it's then it is required for the enumerator to be there and explain it to them that okay, this is what we are asking, and most of the times you're translating the question in the regional language. Again, that may also lead to bias, because when I'm translating something, it may not come out to be exactly the same way in which the question has been framed. So yes, that can be a reason for bias there. Um I hope I am like it's making sense to all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
All
ma'am.
ma'am.
right, all right, okay. So yeah. So this is so these are the methods, various ways by which you can do it, and so if we now then you have got focus areas. Uh, when we talk about focus areas here, basically we are saying that okay, when you take your questionnaire with you, what should be your priority? What should you be doing? So it's very necessary that you win the confidence of the person, of your respondent, whether you are sending them by mail or whether you are going in person to them. It is very necessary that you win their confidence, because if they feel that mm, you are saying something and you are asking something, that trust factor is not there. So you have to tell them that what is the purpose of your research, why have you come down to those people, and that's the reason where we say that when you go for these questionnaires, and if you have like, because obviously you'll be having a homogeneous group, so if it's in the same geographical area, then what we say is that you collect all the people there, you brief them about it, that this is why we are doing it, and then you start it. Or like if you are going to an organization to collect your data, or you're going to your own organization to collect your data, so you let the people know that why this data collection is being done by the organization, what like results, like what is the purpose of the study, what results, not what results they are expecting, because then again that will be a bias. But yeah, you tell them that okay, look, we are developing a new system, and or something like that, so that people know that fine. Especially what happens in organizations is that with general public, if you're doing a social social survey, like you're doing a census study, like you're collecting data for the census, population census, or you are collecting data, say, on livelihood, on skill development, uh, there people will be much more open with you regarding the information. But many a times what happens is that in organizations you are a bit uh, word should I be using, like you are a bit mm, you don't know what I want to do and what I don't want to do, like to what level do I want to go and at what level I do not want to go. So you have that issue with you. So that's the reason we say that it's always better to tell them in advance and do it. Farida, are you there? Farida, can you hear me? Farida is not there. I saw her. Yeah, Farida is there. Uh, Grace, is it okay if I make you the co-host so that you can make people enter? Because otherwise I have to leave my thing again and again.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Right, right. So I've just added you as a co-host. I suppose Farida is busy somewhere. So I have done that. So let me. Okay. Last time, who are the people to whom I did not speak with? Grace, I troubled a lot last time. Isa, can you hear me? Isa, Isa Hajra. I suppose I have
Yes, ma'am.
pronouncing. Yeah, Isa. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, ma.
And you are from which country?
I'm from Nigeria.
Okay, and what do you do?
I'm a class teacher.
Oh, great. And why are you doing an MBA?
Actually, okay. I just need the knowledge. I want to be
Oh,
diverse. Mm.
and you are teaching whom?
I'm teaching chemistry.
Oh, okay. To which grade?
um, we know our classes is not based on grade. I'm teaching SS1, 2, and 3.
That is like what age?
Senior,
What age?
senior, yes, senior secondary school 1, senior section 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so age group. What's the age group of the students who come to you?
Normally maximum of 18. That's the range.
Okay.
18 from
Uh,
secondary school.
okay.
Mm.
So okay, like in India, it's that's 11th and 12th, right? The senior secondary things as per India. Now, have you ever taken a feedback or used a questionnaire, Isa?
Yes, I've used it while in my masters, during my masters.
Okay. And you collected the data for what?
I did my research on I did my research on malnourishment, malnutrition,
Okay. All right.
malnutrition.
And
So
what was your sample size?
my sample size,
Yeah.
it's 60, ma'am.
All right. So you collected it from a very small sample.
Yes.
Uh, right. Okay. Uh, do you feel that it's very like people are hesitant in giving out information, or are they cooperative?
They are not, ma'am. Especially I'm going to use the children's blood sample. So
All
they are a
right.
little bit shallow in giving me response.
Okay. And
Mm.
do you think it's very important to have a very good communication with your respondents to make them comfortable and to let them know that what is happening?
Yes.
Okay. So right. So Isa did it on for on her she collected the data and on the blood samples to see that how much iron deficient they are and like the basic
Yes, 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 yes.
yeah,
Mm.
because that is
I
what will tell you a person is malnourished basically.
Yes.
Calcium deficiency,
Iron,
vitamin,
zinc,
iron,
iron,
this
zinc, calcium,
yep.
their
Uh,
head circumferences, their mid upper arm circumferences, their weight, and their height. These are the bases.
okay, so what was the result of your study?
Actually, I formulated a diet. I formulated a
Okay,
diet. I gave them the diet for 6 consecutive weeks,
okay,
3 times daily, 3 times
okay,
daily.
okay.
Mm. So at the end of the research, I divided the group into 4 groups.
Mm-hmm,
The 2 group involved apparently healthy children.
mm-hmm,
The other one involved malnourished children. So
okay.
the diet is divided into 2 segments also.
Mm,
I use sprouting, the method of sprouting, ma.
okay, all right. Okay.
I sprouted a grain. That's
Mm-hmm,
sorghum. It's a sorghum
mm,
based complementary
okay,
food.
okay,
So I see the impact of the sprouted grain and the impact of the non-sprouted one. I compare I compare them. I make comparison between the sprouted meal and the non-sprouted meal.
okay.
So
And
one,
who funded your research?
I did it myself, ma.
Ah, you funded it. You funded how many? Like you were giving the meal to how many out of those 60?
All the 60, ma'am. All
Actually,
the
all the
60.
60. Okay, all right. Okay, all the
Yes,
60.
yes.
But then
Mm.
in the 60, within the 60, you divided them into two groups of sprouted and non-sprouted.
Into 4 groups.
Okay.
Apparently healthy children receiving sprouted meal,
Hmm.
One, apparently healthy children receiving unsprouted milk.
Mm,
Then malnourished receiving sprouted,
mm.
and malnourished receiving non-sprouted.
Okay, all right, great. So you used ANOVA?
Yes, two-way ANOVA, and a
Yeah,
two-way
2V
analysis of
ANOVA.
all.
Yeah,
Yes.
all right. Okay. So fine. Great talking to you, Isa. So now, like she did a study on 60 kids, uh, where it's not very easy, especially like when she is giving out meals. Now, this is a very, very what should we say? It's it's not a very easy thing to do, because when you are giving out food to people, they are more apprehensive about it. So they won't like it. I presume that the kids who are were malnourished came from poor families, Isha. Was it so?
Yes, one of the basic factor is
All right.
poverty.
Okay. Uh,
Poverty is one of
yeah.
the
So I think so.
contributing
It was
factor.
easier to give them food as compared to the healthy kids. Uh,
Yes, yes.
because of
They were pleading for
right,
the
right.
food.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
people who do not have the food, so that's it's okay, because they won't mind becoming the so-called experimental kids. So they won't mind that. But if you're talking about the ones who are healthy, so like again, so here why we had a conversation. Uh, 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 like what I was trying to convey to you people through her example is that it's so important that you tell them that what the objective of your study is, and you uh, it also depends on how you are communicating with them, because if you have like there are so many trainings which are given to the enumerators, that you cannot be rude to people, you cannot be arrogant with people, you cannot ask them touchy questions, like do not go beyond the questionnaire that you have, do not get personal, like you have to be like you have to make them comfortable, but don't get personal when you are asking the questions. So there are a lot of things which have to be kept in mind while you are collecting the data from people. Now so you we say that you identify the purpose, you clarify the terms that terms used, like there might be some abbreviations that you are using, or some, like many a times when you're evaluating a program or you are doing something, so you write a lot of, like in case of Isa, she might have written a lot of symbols, or the yeah, the symbols for the for say iron, she's writing something, and like if she writes Fe there, and so you know that it's iron that she's talking about, and that is something that we know about, but the common people might not know what the symbols are. So you have to clarify the terms for them, and then it's very necessary that the objective of your questionnaire is very, very specific, that you do not ask questions just for the sake of asking questions. So what is your ultimate goal? Why are you collecting the data? Why are you spending so much of time, amount of money that you're spending, your efforts? So you have to be very, very specific there. Now, this is what we are talking about, that you know your respondents. It's very, very important that you know your respondents, that to whom you are going and talking to. Like, it's the same like teaching in the class. So, you know, need to have, like, you need to know your class to teach them well. Because, like, I know that I've got African students here in my class. So, I would rather give you examples from Africa rather than giving you examples from India. Or I can obviously I can always compare and compare it and see. If I start giving you all examples from India, which you are not familiar with, so that becomes an issue. So we talk about standardization. So that is how you standardize your instruments. You say that you standardize the interviewer, the response format, ask questions in a social, cultural, and economic context, keep confidentiality and voluntary participation, include a letter of introduction or presentation. Now, when we talk about standardize the interviewer, basically we are saying that you train people, and it doesn't matter who is collecting the data, the information should come out to be the same. So that is what we mean by saying that you are standardizing the interviewer, that you will not it should not matter whether I go and ask some questions, or Grace asks, or Isa asks, or anybody else goes out and, or Muhammad asks a question. So anybody can go out there and they can ask the question, and the response has to be the same. uh, then you are standardizing the response format. So for that there is again a procedure where you do your content validity, and you go to the experts, and like last time also we were talking that you have got in-house, many a times you're using your in-house experts, many a times you're sending your questionnaires or schedules to people, experts from outside the organization, and you get your, basically you're getting your questionnaire vetted and asking them that, okay, like it meets the requirements of the objectives of the study. This is what we were talking just a few minutes back, that you need to know the social, cultural, and economic context to what you are talking. So like if you're collecting data from a large set of people, there has to be a mix of the gender in your enumerators, because many a times it has been found that women are not very comfortable talking to men, and men are not very comfortable talking to women about a lot of things. So it's better to have so you keep that. So that's a cultural context, that, or a social context, that we are talking about. You do not ask questions. Uh, you might be doing a study on the culture of a place, of an area, but you have to ask questions in a very polite, in a non-confrontational manner. Otherwise it will lead to mayhem. So you have to be very, very specific, that you keep these things. Like if I'm talking to people from Africa, I have to understand the culture, the economic context, the social context that I'm talking to. I cannot, without asking, without understanding that entire context, I cannot go out and speak to you people. So, like, I need to know some basic idea I need to have about your culture, about your social norms, about the economic background of your countries. So that is required. Then, of course, confidentiality and the voluntary participation. You need to have you need to tell people that the data that you're collecting, you're not going to sell it off to somebody. So that because it may be a very small, like you might feel that, this is a very common question, and there is nothing to guard these responses, like there's no need to guard the responses that the people have given it to you. But then again, people have kept their faith in you, and they've answered it. So you cannot share that information with anybody. And of course, always include a letter of introduction, that why you have come. So just to give you an anecdote here, so that like it's 2:30 in my country. What's the time in your country, Francis? What's the time in your country?
It's 11:02 right now.
Okay, 11.
11:02.
Okay, 11 in the morning. Okay, so you are in the office, or is it a holiday? It's a weekend, day off.
Uh, it's a weekend. I was just working from home. I haven't gone for work today.
Okay, and you are from which country?
I'm from Zambia.
And uh, you like have you used a questionnaire or a survey before?
Yes, I've used it before. The time when I was doing my project for my bachelor's degree,
All right.
undergraduate.
Okay, and
Mm.
what do you do for your livelihood?
Um, I'm a consultant, IT consultant.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. All right.
Of course, with an inclination towards accounting packages.
Okay, all right. So your bachelor's was in accountancy?
Uh, I have a bachelor's in information technology.
Okay, because you're a consultant then. Okay, so fine, you do that. All right, good, good. Thank you. Good talking to you. Now, I was just talking to, I was just sharing an anecdote about the letter of introduction and how it is important. Like, again, one of my scholars, she's in India. Like, if you look at the map of India, the northeastern part of India, there are 7 states in that northeastern part. So there's a state called Nagaland here, and she is doing an evaluatory study about a education program of the government of India. So she has taken that area, that state, as a study area, and she's working there now. We obviously were, as she just finished her data collection and she came back, and she was telling me the story that how, like, when she was going, we had given her a letter of introduction, so that it was easy for her to go to the schools and collect the data. So she said that that letter of introduction worked wonders for her, because in most of the government run organizations where she went, schools she went, they thought that she has come from the government, or it's the government who has sent them, and they gave her a very good reception there, and they welcomed her, gave her a lot of food to eat, and it was an interesting experience for her. And I loved the fact that it's these letter of introductions matter so much that people take it very, very seriously, and that's the reason we say that it's so important that you carry a letter of introduction with you when you are going for your data collection. So that was a small anecdote. Right. Now, here we have got your open-ended questions and close-ended questions. Now, let me get Grace here, or if not Grace, yeah, Kofi, I can see you. Hi, how are you? Yeah, you need to unmute yourself. Mm, is Kofi there, or has he left? Okay, Kofi is there.
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Hi, Kofi. You're from which country?
I'm from Ghana.
And have you used, like, what do you do for your living?
I'm a military officer.
You are a?
I'm a military officer.
Okay, you're a military officer. And why are you doing an MBA?
Uh, I, I work. I'm a military officer who works in the health sector. I'm a health service administrator.
Okay, great. Now, have you used a questionnaire before?
Yeah, I've used it before.
And when do you use an open-ended question, and when do you use a close-ended question? Okay, Grace, let me bring you. Let me ask you a few questions today. I was avoiding asking Grace. She said I thought that she won't like it, me asking too many questions from her. Grace, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. So Grace, you people use open-ended questions or close-ended questions?
Well, mostly use closed-ended questions, but there are times we leave a space for open-ended questions just to get a perspective from the customer.
So, like, where do you keep those? Like, where are you asking the opinion of the customer in terms of an open-ended? Like, can you give me an example of that?
Okay, possibly would like to know how they view a product or what their recommendations would be. Would then use an open-ended question.
All right, thank you. Masumba, hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Doc?
Good. And how has been the sales this past week?
Yeah, business has been interesting.
How many more cars did you sell?
Um, well, so the problem with the term sales is slightly different in the motor industry. Isn't it? You might get an order, but if you have not delivered and gotten payment for that car, that's not a sale yet. Plenty of orders,
Okay.
delivered a few.
And like, how is the foreign exchange situation in the country?
Not, I wouldn't say it has improved. Same scenario at the moment. Here and there, you still get some until IMF and the other big organizations come through. So
Okay, so that means it's not a very brisk sales season.
no.
Okay. And Masumba, when do you use open-ended questions and when do you use close-ended questions?
In most cases where you ask, I mean, for instance, when in our case, you'd ask the customer so to say if they're satisfied with something that they've been given, so they would answer you yes or no.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
However, you still then you give them space to explain their
Hmm.
answer,
Hmm.
to go so that you understand what exactly they're not happy with or they're happy with.
Okay. All right. Fine. Got it. Okay. Let me just go back. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Uh, now, like here, you are saying that what are your expectations from the workshop or the lecture that I am giving? So this is an open-ended, and here I'm asking, here I'm prompting you with an answer that was this workshop or lecture required. You can like give your answers open-ended or close-ended, whichever you want to give it as. Now, like what happens is that if you are looking at a long term question, or you want to build a process, in such cases it's good to have an open ended thing, because you do not want like you are not wanting the quantification of the information. Here you are not wanting the quantification of information is not desired. Whereas what happens in a closed end question is that this is easy to answer because you are prompting the answers to them. Secondly, the quantification, so generally what you are doing is that when you want a feedback from people, you want evaluation, so you then go for a closed question. Here this is more about exploratory. This is more exploratory in nature. Like if we are talking about the open ended one, it's more exploratory in nature because you are trying to explore something. So like say supposingly I want to find out that say I'm asking you that what topics should be added included in MMPC. Second question is that what are the questions that needs to be deleted, topics that need to be deleted in MMPC. So these are very open ended because everybody will have their own opinion according to the requirements, according to the things that they have done. Um, Whereas like if you when you are just wanting the feedback, then this becomes so easy to get. So I suppose the differences are clear between the format of questions. Now we come to the choice and measurement of responses. This is also known as the scaling of the data. Or we call them measurement scales as well. So you've got nominal and categorical choices, you've got ordinal, you've got numerical. So basically here, if you are asking, like you are just wanting to describe the data. So you collect information about the attributes or the qualities of the data. So you are asking, like, say, you ask them name, you ask them gender, you ask them their address, you ask them about a political party that they support, you ask them their religion. So these are all your nominal scale or categorical scale, where you're just categorizing your data, and you are just uh, like you are wanting to describe the data that you have. So this is what you do in case of a nominal scale or a nominal choice. Ordinal is basically when you are asking the respondents to rank the choice. You are asking them to rank the choice. So say supposingly again, uh, so here, like I can frame this question in another way. I can also frame this question like this, that so this can also be my question. So I can give them then sprouted, unsprouted. So here you're asking them to rank it. So this is what your ordinal data does. Numerical is when you want quantitative data, which is very specific in nature, which is very, very specific. So then you go for numerical. So like I ask them that what is your income? How many sources of income? So these are all examples of your numerical data, which is also known as interval scale and ratio scale. There are two scales here. Somebody has raised their hand, or okay, no, right. So yes, Isha, go ahead.
I want to give a little example about the ordinal
Mm,
data.
mm,
Um, in a subsection of my project,
mm,
I assess sensory evaluation. Sensory evaluation is a method of evaluating the formulated dye based on the appearance, taste, flavor, texture, aroma, and overall acceptability.
mm,
So, with this regards, in assessing the sensory evaluation, there are certain ranging scales used, just
mm,
like like extremely, I like extremely, like very much, like moderately, like slightly, neither like nor dislike, dislike slightly, dislike, according to the 9 hedonic scale. I use the
So,
9,
you use the 9
yes, 9 hedonic scale,
hedonic
ranging
scale.
from,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
We like in management and economics, we use a lot of Likert scale, which is a 5-point scale.
okay.
Right. So it's the same
So,
like you said. So it's like not no, nor like neither like nor dislike, then like extremely like, then do not like, extremely do not like. So that is like the Likert scale is there. What you are also taking. So that is again you're ranking the preferences, isn't it? So that becomes an ordinal thing. So a good
yes,
example. Yeah,
thank you, thank you.
right. A very good example there. So, anybody else who wants to add to that? No? Okay. Let me move ahead. Now, what are the points that are to be noted? That ask purposeful questions, ask concrete questions, use time periods based on importance of the questions, use conventional language, use complete sentences, avoid abbreviations, review questions with experts and potential respondents, which is basically your content validity that you're doing. Take use shorter questions. Do not have very long questions with with a lot of parts and subparts to it. If you think that a question has to have a subpart to it, then ask it in another question. So, like you ask that, do you like sorghum? Yes or no? If yes, then what type of sorghum do you like? Uh, Sprouted, non-sprouted, or unsprouted? So this is like you can ask it in the same question that do you like sorghum, and kindly let us know that which type of sorghum do you like, sprouted or non-sprouted or the unsprouted one. So this is like we say that you use shorter questions. Do not ask a lot of long questions, because one, people are answering you. That by itself is a big thing, because of course again it depends, like if your project is funded, if your work is if your organization has asked you to collect the data, then many a times you also pay some money to the respondents, or you give them some gift coupons, or you give them something if they give you a good feedback. uh, Again, mm, let me ask Masumba this thing, because I know that he's from automobile. So, Masumba, do you have something called loyalty bonus?
Um, More or less like a loyalty program.
Hmm. No, yeah, a
Yeah,
loyalty
yes.
bonus. A loyalty bonus is that if your customer is loyal, has bought say 2 cars from you and is getting a third one, so you give them some sort of benefits.
Yes.
All right. So how do you know that the person is buying a third car from you?
You would have a database.
Yeah, right. So when you are having a database and you or many a times the customer comes and says that no, this is my second car that I'm buying from your own showroom, like from your company, and I've bought a similar car or a car of this company before. So then you have got those loyalty bonuses and you have got those loyalty things. So which is like this also helps you to understand your customers better, and you do that much in a much like the data collection happens in a much better manner, right? And we We now come to the next part, which is your, just a second. Let me just stop sharing for a second. Oh, so we have got hypothesis in this like this block. So we have talked about sampling. I now want to talk to you about this thing, hypothesis testing. So let me come here now. Any doubt so far? Anything that you have not understood? Anything that you have not? Yes, Isa, you have raised your hand. Isa, you have raised your hand. Anything to ask? How many
No,
of you
ma'am.
are okay? How many of you are currently working like right now? You are doing two things at a time, like you are attending the class, like you have put on the class and you're doing something else. Raise your hands. Okay, Isha, Usman, both the Usman. No, okay, Usman, and then Suleiman, Apia. Okay, okay, all of you are doing multiple tasking there. Isa, what are you doing apart from that? Like apart from this?
I'm cooking, ma'am.
Oh, and what are you cooking?
It's an African dish. We call it moi moi.
And it is made of?
Bean.
Okay, all right. So it's similar to the rajma that we have, the black beans, the kidney beans.
No,
No,
it's
okay.
not. It's not made of the kidney bean. You make the bean into a paste.
Okay.
Then you add your spices
Uh,
and your vegetable oil.
okay.
Then you
Right.
cook
And
it
you have it with what?
with either sauce. You use sauce
All right. Okay, great.
or
So
pepper or grounded pepper and oil.
all right. So fine.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, go ahead with your cooking. I like it would have been so wonderful like if I could have been cooking while I could teach you people. That would be that would be my dream. Farida, you had raised your hand. Please go ahead. Was it an answer to the question that doing two things at a time? Farida is busy somewhere today. She raised her hand, and yeah, Farida.
Sorry. I was just driving. I'll be home shortly.
Okay, all right. Okay. So let us start with a new topic called hypothesis testing. Now, how many of you have done hypothesis testing before? Anybody who has done, like, of course, Isha must have done because she did her research. I spoke to whom did I spoke earlier? Okay, I don't remember with whom. I suppose I spoke to. Kofi did not do it. Francis has also done it in his graduation. He told that he has also done. So hypothesis testing you people have done. Anybody else who has done hypothesis testing before? Mohammed must have done it, like must be doing it in his studies. Okay, let me not put you people on the spot. Let me start with hypothesis testing. Now, hypothesis, like what we are trying to understand through this next part of the lecture is that we'll understand the concept of hypothesis testing, we'll frame the hypothesis, and we'll evaluate one-tailed and two-tailed hypotheses which are there. Now, what is a hypothesis? Basically, a hypothesis is an assumption, or it is an assertion or a conjecture about the distribution of the random variables that you have got. So that is what, like, you are making an assumption about the variables that you have, and you will then be testing those assumptions that you have made. So you can have a simple hypothesis, and it can be like, if it is if a distribution is specified it is in it, then it's a simple hypothesis. Otherwise it becomes a composite hypothesis. Now, what is simple hypothesis and what is composite hypothesis? So like uh, right, so hmm. So we are talking about simple hypothesis. So there's a statement which says that if an engineer has to decide on the basis of sample data whether the true average lifetime of a certain kind of tire is at least 42,000 miles. So you are wanting to test that whether your tire is going to last for 42,000 miles or not. Like, that is what you're testing. That every tire that a company is manufacturing, it should have an average life of 42,000 miles. So you change your tire after 42,000 miles. So that is one assumption that you're taking. Second, you're saying that you're an agronomist, and you have to like, you are doing an experiment on what type of fertilizer will give you a higher yield. The third is you are a pharmacist and a pharmaceutical manufacturer, and you have taken samples where 90% of patients they are being given a new medication, and they recover from a certain disease. And so now you have got these three examples where we are testing the average life of a tire. We are testing the fertilizer, one of the fertilizers, like we are trying to like see whether it is giving you more than the other one. And then you are talking about a pharmacist who is testing that like, who says that, who's claiming that out of like the medications, to like the number of people to whom the medication is given, 90% of them are they recover from the disease. Now here we are saying that a simple hypothesis must specify not only the functional form of the underlying distribution, but also the values of all parameters. uh, Now, which of them is okay? So let me explain it to you a bit more. Mm. Now, if in here I'm asking you that which one is a simple hypothesis, and like, which is a composite hypothesis. So we say that in composite hypothesis, no specific value is assigned to the parameter. Now, you are not assigning any like value. Uh, Here you are saying that the average life of your tire is 42,000 miles. Here you have got one kind of fertilizer. So that means here you are assigning a number to it. Like, you are talking about two fertilizers, and you are then comparing them, that one of them is giving you a higher yield. Here again, you are talking about 90% of the patients that are there. So in simple hypothesis is that in composite hypothesis we are not assigning any specific value. In simple hypothesis we are assigning a specific value to the parameter. So the first one is a composite hypothesis, because you are, like, in the first case, which they are presuming to be 42,000 miles, but they are not talking about that how many respondents are going to have this. This is not specified. If you look at the second and the if you look at the second and the third example, you will find that in the second example you're talking about one uh, one seed that you are talking about one fertilizer. So you're talking about one fertilizer out of the two. So you're taking a specific number. Yeah, somebody wants to say something.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. The screen is not visible.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I
Yeah,
did
I
not
wanted
see.
to say the same thing.
Okay, all right, okay. I, in my all enthusiasm to teach, forgot to present my slides. I hope it's like it should be visible now. Just a second. All right, so it is. It has become. Yeah, Francis, you want to say something more?
No, I just wanted to have a confirmation. So basically, when we are looking at hypothesis testing, you is it always a must that an value should be attached?
No, no. It is not necessary. So
Thank you.
that's the reason that we are saying that it's a simple or a composite hypothesis. So like here, if you we said that like in if an engineer has to decide on the basis of sample data whether the true average lifetime is 42,000 miles, here we are talking about one kind of fertilizer. So you are talking about one kind of fertilizer. In the previous case you were talking about all tires. You're talking about all tires. So this is a composite hypothesis, because you are not, no parameter is being assigned, whereas here the parameter is one kind of fertilizer. In here it is 90% of all patients you're talking about, that they are recovering from the disease. So these are simple. This is a simple hypothesis because you are adding a value to it. So that becomes a simple hypothesis. In the composite hypothesis, we are saying that there is no specific value that is assigned to the parameter. Is it clear? Somebody wants to say something? Go ahead.
I think it is clear for me, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody else with any doubts? Anybody else who has got a doubt? All right. Uh, okay. Let's move ahead. Now, what is the rationale of hypothesis testing? That why do you do hypothesis testing? Now, this is a very, very important question, because why to have an hypothesis? Like, first of all, like when you're doing your research, why to have that? So we say that the reason that you are doing a sample study is because it is cheap and because it is like time efficient. So because of these two reasons, generally you do a sample, take a sample from the population. Now, this sample has to be a representation of the population. It has to be a representation of the population. That means on the basis of 500 people, say my sample size is 500, and I am doing a study on Malawi's fashion sense. So these, on the basis of these 500 people, I will be making a generalization regarding the population. So if, say, supposingly I find that all the 500 people that I have surveyed, if I find them very like fashion, like I find them fashion conscious, and I find them very smart and very well dressed and well groomed. So what I will be saying is that all the people of Malawi are well dressed and they've got a very good sense of fashion. So this I have to do. Like that's a like otherwise there's no point of studying a sample. So from this simple sample statistic, that means if I, whether I take a mean, whether I take a standard deviation, whether I take a coefficient of variation, whatever sample statistics I'm doing, from there I have to find out the population parameter. So now the more, like, if your statist sample statistic is very near to the population parameter, then you say that good study, good evaluation, and good uh, generalization possible. Good generalization is possible because both of them are clear near to each other. If they are very far off, then we say that the sample is not representing the population. That means your study goes haywire from there, right? So now I've made a very ugly face to ask you that does this actually transpire, that do you form an opinion about the population on the basis of the sample? Do you form an opinion about the population on the basis of the sample? Yes or no? I'm asking you a close-ended question.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Uh, all right. Good. And so, does all the time your uh, what the generalization that you have done regarding the population on the basis of the sample, does it always come true?
No, I don't think so.
Then what do you do if it doesn't come true then?
I'm thinking you get a number of samples
Mm.
and see if that's the kind of generalization you'll get. Maybe conduct a couple of samples and then you compare and see what the outcome would look like. Then from there you can make an informed decision based on
Mhm.
that.
When you do it for your company, and like, what is generally the sample size of the feedbacks?
The question is directed to me.
Yes.
Sometimes we get 100 to 500.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then say, so you spent a lot of time and money on those collecting data from those 500 people. And then if your generalization doesn't come true, then what to do? Okay.
I'm
I won't
stuck.
put you. Yeah, I won't put you on the spot anymore. Now, what happens is that we have got a lot of statistical tests to carry out to tell us that uh, whether that generalization should be done or not. So that's the reason we do this the comparison between the sample statistic and the population parameter. And if you're not aware of the population parameter, then you estimate the population parameter based on like on the basis of your sample statistics. So that is what we actually do. So now you can have like this difference that you're having between the sample and the population. That can be because of a sampling error, or it can be because of a non-sampling error. Sampling error generally means that your sample the sample design is not correct. So if your sample design is skewed, that means you gave preference to, like, if I remember from the last class, Grace had told us, informed us that there like the minimum recharge that you can do is of 2 and 2 kwacha, and 2 to 5 kwacha, that's the least, and the highest was 50 to 100 kwachas that people do. Now, say supposing, and she also told us that the largest number of consumers that she has is from the 2 to 5 kwacha range, to so to say. So, if she has to come out with a new product, or she wants to evaluate, her maximum number of samples should be from people in that range of 2 to 5 kwachas. Say supposingly one of her colleagues or a subordinate of hers goes out and collects the data without the understanding, and that person goes and collects the maximum data from the 50 to 100 kwacha range. Then what happens is that your answers will be very, very like they won't be actually showing you the things, because if you then start off with a new scheme, everything will go like everything will go no everything will nosedive, because you have used the wrong information there. So say supposingly people tell you that it's okay, it's obviously somebody who's spending 50 kwacha or 100 kwacha might tell you that okay, fine, you can have a new product with some new ranges, like like I'll give you again an example from India, that in India what we do is that nowadays, along with our these mobile subscriptions, we are also getting subscriptions to the OTT platforms. So it can be a Disney, Hotstar Disney, you might get it with Airtel. Geo, which is a very, very popular brand from India, they give you like they have their own Geo television and Geo, a lot of their other services are there, which they provide you when you subscribe to them. So it is that there now, these plans of additional benefits are generally availed by people above a certain recharge amount that they are doing. So similarly, Grace's company might also be doing something. So if on the basis of this you go out and you launch a product, or you change your policies, then that would be a disaster for the company, right? So you have to understand this very, very well. And why did I stop sharing? I don't know why I stopped sharing. Sorry for that. And sorry for the background noise that you are getting, a bit of background noise, because I'm at home today, and yeah, people are selling something. Uh, yes, Grace, you want to say something?
It left me. I'll ask again.
I'm
Yes,
asking
I'm
you, do
saying
you want to ask something?
it has just left me. Let me like coordinate my question properly. I'll get back.
Okay. Okay, all right, great. Okay. Mm. So this is your sampling error. So if you are doing wrong, your sampling like the total number of samples, the sample size is not correct, your sampling design is not correct, your sampling framework is not correct, then you can have a sampling error. And then there are a lot of non-sampling errors also. This non-sampling errors, there is no um, there is no specific reason for the non-sampling error to happen. So you like you cannot pinpoint it out very easily, because it is something that is not related to the sampling that has happened. So like sampling error is something to do with your sample thing. So, either the sample size is not correct, the design is not correct, the framework is not correct. So you can always correct that, and you can correct your sampling error. It's a bit difficult to correct the non-sampling error, though we always say that the non-sampling error percentage is very, very small. um, Okay, now we come to the two types of hypothesis. One is your um, one is the null hypothesis, and the other is the alternative hypothesis that you have got. Please remember, this is very, 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 very important to understand, because Null hypothesis is your H naught, and alternative hypothesis is HA. So you show your null hypothesis which with H naught or H0, and this is HA, your alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis is always a negative statement. It is the current thinking, or it is what we call it as a status quo statement, that which says that there is no change. So your null hypothesis says there is no change. So that no change in what? It can be anything. So like if I'm saying that you're trying to say that if you improve this is what I want to do. I want to say that if you improve the broadband connectivity, it will help to improve the access to information, and it will also bring down the corruption, because people will have all the information with them. It will be easier for the government to pass on the benefits to the people. So all those things will happen. So this is what I am that is what I'm like I want to find out. Now null hypothesis in this case will be that broadband broadband connectivity has got no impact. So that is what your null hypothesis will be. Alternative hypothesis will be, obviously it's a positive statement, and this is what, as a researcher, this is what you want to prove. You want to prove the alternative hypothesis, that there is a change. If you improve the broadband connectivity, then that is there. So so the burden of proof is on the alternative hypothesis. That means you're wanting to prove that there has been some changes. There is some like if you are doing something, like if in case of the study on malnourishment, so the null hypothesis would be that there is no impact on providing a balanced meal to the children on their nourishment levels. That would be the null hypothesis. And the alternative hypothesis will be that if you provide balanced diet to the kids, the problem of malnourishment can be tackled. So that is the alternative hypothesis. So as a researcher, what she would want to do is that she would want to show that yes, if you give people, if you provide people with a balanced diet, then malnourishment will come down. And if malnourishment comes down, then your future generations will be much stronger. If the future generations will be much stronger, your skill levels will go up and your economy would prosper. So that is how you join the dots and you reach to a point. So that is about the null and the alternative hypothesis. So what we do is what's the procedure here? Now, any doubts so far? Anything that you people want to? Yes, Francis, you have raised your hand. Go ahead.
Not really. I think it was just by accident that I pressed on the raising of the hand.
Okay. All right. Now, Grace is asking that when your generalization is not correct, what do you do? Okay. Grace, if your generalization is not correct, that means your sampling procedure was wrong. So you have to correct your sampling procedure, and you need to ask the right type of questions from people, and you need to ask questions from the like the right type of questions from the right type of people. That is what you need to do. So this is something that we can come to know from the various tests that are there, whether it's the chi-square test or the t-test or the z-test or the f-test, the ANOVA, as she was talking about, the two-way ANOVA and the one-way ANOVA that she was talking about. So that is how you can do, like you there are various methods and statistics which helps you to do that. They will help you to find out the difference and to correct that difference, that problem that is there in the generalization, because otherwise your entire results will go wrong, and nothing will come out of the study that you have done. So it's very important. That's the reason that at every like step you have those checks and balances to see that whether you are going correct or not. Did I answer your question, Grace?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Anybody has got any other questions? Because this is a very important topic to understand, because yeah, if you people are doing research in your in your present places, wherever you are, then it is very required. All right. I'll just I'm just taking a 2-minute break. I just need to refill my glass of water. Sorry, I forgot to do that before the class. So just give me 2 minutes. So this is the hypothesis testing procedure that you have, that you have got like the first step is obviously to come up with a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis. You then determine the test that is there. You set the level of significance. You collect the sample data. You analyze the data, and you reach a conclusion. Now, these are two terms here that I suppose you are not very familiar with. One is about sorry. Uh, One is about the determine the test here, and to set the level of significance. This we have already done. This is already done. We are talking, and this We have done a bit of it when we talked about descriptive statistics, and then we'll be talking about the time series data and correlation and regression that we will be talking. So there we can have a look at that. So okay, so there is this one question that is there on your screens, which talks about which is talking about what could determine the access to employment among graduates. So this is your research question that you are asking, and you are saying that you analyze the current status of employment among the graduates, you estimate the factors which are impacting the employment of graduates, you evaluate new working place for graduates. So here what you then do is that you are saying the null hypothesis is that there is no difference in in access to employment for the graduates. That means everybody has got equal opportunities to the access of employment. Now, which is not true in most of the countries. This is not true because there is a gender bias, there is a class bias, there is a there might be some sort of a social bias as well. Like in case of India, we have got a caste bias. In case of your countries, it might be a tribal bias, or it might be an urban rural bias. So yeah, there's always a bias because everybody doesn't have the access to employment, the same sort of employment. No, everybody doesn't have that. In no none of the countries, even America, one of the large one of the most powerful countries in the world, they too do not have equal access to employment. Everybody doesn't have an equal access to employment there. So we say that there is no difference. Our null hypothesis is that there is no difference in the access, and our alternative hypothesis says that there is a difference in the access to employment. So then we are talking about like analyze the role of gender in access to employment. That does gender play a role in the access to employment? Yes, of course it does play a role. So, but the null hypothesis would say that no, gender doesn't have any role. That means both the genders or all the genders. Sorry for being wrong. Like not both the genders, all the genders. They do not have equal access to employment. Not at all. So here, so now then we come to testing the hypothesis. So when you're testing the hypothesis, you like you have got some set of rules which tells you that whether you should be accepting the null hypothesis or you should be rejecting the null hypothesis. Now, please remember that this entire testing that you are doing, the entire testing of hypothesis that you are doing is for the null hypothesis. It is not for the alternative hypothesis. So your entire analysis is based on your null hypothesis and not on the alternative hypothesis. Though you want to prove the alternative hypothesis, but you analyze with the help of a null hypothesis. So whether there has to be like, is there any change or not? So that comes you come to know from the when you do your analysis of the null hypothesis. So so that is what the testing is all about. So it partitions the possible values of the statistics into two subsets: an acceptance region for null hypothesis and a rejection region for null hypothesis. Means that in your distribution, when you have got your sample distribution, generally in sample distribution we talk about we say that it is normally distributed. You have got normal distribution. Normal distribution basically means when your mean is equal to median is equal to mode. If all these three things are equal, then you have got a normal distribution. And then you have got a bell figure, bell sorry. So this is a bell diagram that you have got, a bell-shaped diagram. So this is a bell diagram which tells you about normal distribution. So this is the origin, this is 0. Normally, in your data sets, you'll have either this portion or you'll have this portion. You don't have both the portions because you'll have either the negative side or the positive side you'll have. So then comes the rejection of the null hypothesis. Like let me show you the acceptance region and the rejection region first. Uh, so this okay, let me show it to you by making it for you. Here you say that this much is your this area, this is your acceptance region, this is your rejection region, both these areas, and these areas are known as tails. So you've got a left tail and you've got a right tail. So there are two tails in your distribution. And this body that you have got, this body is basically your acceptance region. That means if your test value falls within this region, then you accept the null hypothesis. If your test statistic, that means you find out a test statistic which can be, say, a simple mean. So if your mean is falling within this range, this range in the body part, if it is within within the body, then you accept the null hypothesis, or otherwise you reject your null hypothesis. uh, does it make any sense of what I talked about to you people? Any doubts, anything that you have not understood, anything that you have not understood? Everybody has gone to sleep today.
No, it's just pondering, ma'am. I would like to know. Let's say
Mhm.
we have a situation, an example.
Mm.
I want us to try using an example, answer a question based on the example, to
Okay.
show what you have indicated, the acceptance area and
The rejection
rejected
region, the
area.
rejection
Yeah.
and the rejection region. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, okay, just let me go to. Okay, let me come to my type 1 error and type 2 error later. Uh, this is your question. The example says that an airline wants to test the null hypothesis that 60% of its passengers object to smoking inside the plane. Do not talk about the type 1 and type 2 error because I've not taught you that. So I'm just asking you that an airline wants to test the null hypothesis that 60% of its passengers object to smoking inside the plane. So that means if I have anybody who wants to frame the null hypothesis in this case of the airlines, where it is saying the null hypothesis, okay, it's already given, so there's no point of asking you. It is saying that your mu is basically your population mean. This is your population mean, and x bar is your sample mean. So you are saying that your mu is equal to your sample statistics. So that means 60% of population is equal to 60% of sample who are saying that no smoking inside the plane. So now this is a very rough estimation that I'm giving you without using any test statistics because I've yet not taught you about the tests. So I say that if my sample mean is equal to 56%, or my population mean is equal to 56%. So my where was I drawing my limit? My limit was on 60%, right? So because this is a one-tailed test, because we are saying about greater than 60%, or it is greater than or equal to, okay, so it is equal to 60%. So it's a one-tailed test. On the positive tail, we will be testing it. We won't look at this. We'll just look at the positive side. So because it is falling at 56%, that means this is my acceptance region. So in this case, I accept the null hypothesis that yes, smoking should not be allowed within the flame, within the plane. Now, say supposingly my mu comes out to be 88%, or sorry, my mu comes out to be how much? Now to reject the null hypothesis, um, mu comes out to be 30%. Now 56, oh sorry, 56%, should I be accepting or should I be rejecting my null hypothesis? Like if 56% of the people are saying that no smoking, uh, should I accept the null hypothesis or should I reject my null hypothesis? I should reject my null hypothesis. Why should I reject my null hypothesis? Because if 56% are saying, that means 56% is less than 60%, right? So that means they are beyond that. So what is the plane? What is the management saying? That 60% of our population doesn't want people to smoke. But when you did your sampling told you that no, it is only 56% of the people who are saying that smoking, they do not want smoking in the plane, so which is not 60% what they are claiming. So then what you do, that you reject your null hypothesis and you accept the alternative hypothesis. And say supposingly this your sampling tells you that 75% people want no smoking inside the plane. So in this case, you accept your null hypothesis and you reject the alternative hypothesis. Uh, Grace, did all this what I have written, is it making any sense to you or and to the others?
It attempted to make sense. Again,
It's an attempt. Okay, let me come back to your let me give you an example from your area. You are saying you tell your management that let us have two more options for the customers in the price range of 2 to 5 kwacha, because our study is showing that people in this consumption range want some more options of like recharging only their data, recharging only their calls, recharging only their SMSs. So you go and tell your bosses that. So they tell you that okay, you do one thing, you do a major study and come back and let us know. So then when you went to the field, you found out that your sampling framework was right, everything was proper, and you went and you saw that 80% of your sampled population said that they would want those options, they would want those extra options. So in this case, you are accepting the alternative hypothesis and you are rejecting the null hypothesis, because the null hypothesis was that introduction of new schemes would bring no change in the customer base, and the alternative hypothesis was that introduction of new schemes would bring about a change in the customer base. So I suppose now is it a bit clear?
yes, very clear.
Francis, you wanted to say something, you had unmuted yourself, you wanted to give some inputs.
Not really, but I think you've made clear after explaining to Grace.
Okay, all right, fine. Uh, a lot of scribbling there. Uh, ah, I go back to my type 1 and type 2 error because these are two very important things again. Now, there are when you are testing your hypothesis, there is a very high probability of you doing one of these mistakes, like either having a type 1 error or a type 2 error. Now, what is a type 1 error? Type 1 error is when you are rejecting a true null hypothesis. So that means you are your null hypothesis is true. That means um, so this is a true null hypothesis because this is what your study pointed out. Your study said that yes, exactly 60% of the passengers they do not want it. So this is a true null hypothesis. But what you did is that you rejected this. You rejected this. So now you are committing. If this is happening, so you are committing type 1 error. This is type 1 error, that the null hypothesis was true. That means no change happening. This had to be accepted, but what you did was you rejected it. So then this is a type 1 error. Type 2 error is the second one. Type 2 error is when your null hypothesis is false. That means 40%. Where has my pen gone? Okay, here it stands. Like 40% passengers say no to smoking. So in this case, null hypothesis should have been rejected. But you accept your null hypothesis. Then this becomes your type 2 error. I hope this is clear, the type 1 error and the type 2 error. Is this clear?
No, ma'am. Can you come again?
Yes, please
Uh,
repeat that. Is there a
okay.
way of maximizing the screen as well? I don't know.
Sorry?
The screen is rather too small. I mean, we want to follow you, but the screen is so small. Is it
The
is it
screen
possible
is
to
small.
magnify it?
I was right. I am writing in this, like this is the biggest one I have. I can't go beyond this. Let me do one thing. Let me have one blank screen so that I can write here and it's easy for you to understand. My statement is that giving fever reducing medicine helps to bring down the temperature of a patient. What would be my null hypothesis? Very quickly, somebody tell me the null hypothesis in this case. Somebody very quickly tell me the null hypothesis. Please. Requesting you people, anybody, just make an attempt. It might be a wrong thing, but fine, go ahead. Please go ahead. Nobody wants to make an attempt? Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me try.
Yeah.
So, giving fever reducing medicine does not bring down fever.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So has no impact on the patient. All right. So this is your null hypothesis. Your alternative hypothesis is that
the medicine brings down the temperature.
yeah. So it helps the patient. Now your sample shows that 80% of patients given medicine get cured. You should be accepting the null hypothesis or you should be rejecting the null hypothesis.
Accept, I think.
I think we should reject the null hypothesis.
We should reject the null hypothesis. Absolutely right. You reject the null hypothesis. Now, wrongly, I accept the null hypothesis. Wrongly, I accept the null hypothesis. Then I commit type 2 error. Is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Grace and everybody else, is this clear? Is this example clear?
Yes.
It is clear.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Now I am now my statement is that religious faith of a person has an impact on her intelligence. Now my null hypothesis will be that my alternative hypothesis would be that alternative hypothesis is there. Now, in this case, my sample says that 100% sampled people show no relation between religion and intelligence. In this case, what should I be doing with my null hypothesis? Accepting it or rejecting it? In this case, should I be accepting my null hypothesis or rejecting it?
Should reject.
Why should I reject?
We are accepting the null hypothesis.
Yeah, we should accept the null hypothesis. Now, I do not know who was the first one who spoke, but he committed a type 1 error. Now I am saying that I wrongly reject the null hypothesis. I commit type 1 error. Are the two examples clear? Are the two examples clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this is about type 1 error and type 2 error. So that means you had to reject the null hypothesis, but you accepted the null hypothesis. Then you are committing a type 2 error. You should have accepted the null hypothesis, but you rejected the null hypothesis. Then you are committing a type 1 error. So if we know that religion has got nothing to do with intelligence. We all know this, right? We still did a study, but again it showed that yes, there is no relationship between the two. So we should have accepted the null hypothesis. If we rejected the null hypothesis, that means you are telling people that religion has got an impact on intelligence. Now just imagine how grave a mistake you are committing. It's the same with gender. Like a lot of people in a lot of countries, the predominant thought is that women have got less intelligence than men. Now again, a very very wrong assumption to be made. Absolutely wrong assumption to be made. So that's the reason we say that type 1 error is much more costly than the type 2 error. That is what it is. Did the entire class understand this concept?
Yes, sir.
Yes, understood.
All right. Okay, understood. So any questions? Because I'm stopping my class here. I'm stopping my class because I don't want to go beyond this. I won't be able to finish off the next topic. So I am stopping myself here. And I'll just in the next class we'll very quickly do uh, like we'll do critical significance level, critical region, and then we would be moving to the fourth block, which is basically your correlation regression. So that is one topic that I wanted to do with you people. So that I'll be doing next week. Any questions, any doubts? Anything that you people want to ask? Any questions? Please go ahead. Kindly go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
Verification.
Mm,
Just wanted to confirm you on the type 2 and type 2 and type 1 errors.
mm,
Where you accepting the null hypothesis when you should have
mm,
rejected it?
mm.
That's supposed to be type 2, is it?
Yes, that's a type 2 error. That is a type 2 error, that when you should have rejected, you should have rejected the null hypothesis, but you accepted it wrongly. Then that is a type 2 error. And if you have rejected a correct null hypothesis, then that is a type 1 error. Like the religion example was type 1 error, and the medicine one, the medicine fever medicine one, was a type 2 error.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Anything else? Yes,
I think it's
Francis.
okay for now. Sometimes the mind gets clogged, but I think if we go through it again, I think everything will be more clearer, especially coupled with what you just taught us for today. Mm.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. So let me close the session for today, and we'll meet again tomorrow. We have